Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher Hinde, and welcome to the October 23rd edition of Fire Engineering's Humpday Hangouts. Unfortunately, some of my co-parts today aren't here to join me. Uh, Robert James is out on an incident, so I'm doing it solo. Topics of conversation today are fire department live-in programs and engine company operations. I'm going to start off by diving into live-in programs, but first, for those of you that haven't met me before, my name, like I said, is Chris Hinde, and I'm a firefighter in Washington, D.C. I'm assigned to Engine Company 22 in the Brightwood section of the city in the northernmost tip with a very diverse area of apartment buildings, row homes, industrial facilities. So that'll come in a little bit later as we dive into engine company operations. I'm also a deputy fire chief with the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department, and I've been there since 2002, a former live in member and currently in charge of the department's live in program. So, the first topic that we're going to talk about today is the live in program. We're going to go over some of the things like how to properly select a live in program, as well as some pointers for running the live in program. When you look at selecting a live-in program, most people that are coming from somewhere out of state are looking for a certain reason. Either they're interested in the job market in the area, or they're searching for a place to live, to relocate while going to school. It's really important that when you are looking for these live-in programs, you do a lot of research. Most of the people that come to us uh, you know, are young guys and gals, anywhere from 16 to 20 years old, looking to go to college. And, it's really important that you think about the area that you're going to, what you're going to be going to school for, and what the fire department that you're looking into has to offer. And, there's a number of ways to dive into your research. The first and most important thing is starting on the internet, right? We're here today, we're on the internet, and I'm going to pull up my screenshot here. Where can you start? Well, the fire department website. I've got Rockville's website pulled up here. I have a couple others that I'll pull up a little bit later, but you can judge a department really by what information is on their website. I know that Rockville, our website is pretty in depth with information for the public uh, uh, in terms of public outreach. But if you go, we have a section here about our volunteering, joining, and there's a section on our living program. So as you browse around the different websites, you want to look at the content that's being offered. Some of these places are going to go really in depth. Another good example is going to be the Hyattsville Volunteer Fire Department in Prince George's County. But some websites you're going to find the information to be outdated, or have they been posting incidents regularly. Truthfully, that's one of the downfalls actually of our website, admittedly, is that at Rockville we sometimes fall behind in the posting of our stories. We're a department that runs 13,000 calls a year, but we have sometimes a hard time getting images and stories up on the website. We get them up on our Facebook page a lot more often. But look at what the department has to offer. Do they have links to things in the area outside of the organization? Contact information. It's important to reach out early to these people, these departments, and start getting information. Uh, you know, how quickly are you contacted by the live-in program? Does somebody get in touch with you? Are you receiving kind of a generic email back? Um, Bear with me, guys. I'm just trying to pull up some other stuff here to show you in my other screen. What other information is available once you contact the live-in programs? You know, it's important that you set up a visit and go out and actually see the fire station, see what facilities are available, kind of get there and meet the people. Um, it's all about what's the right fit for you and what you're going through. And again, using the college live-in program as the biggest example, we want to really make sure that we can tailor your experience to what's going on for you at school. Uh, and this is why it's key to get out there and do those ride alongs. Spend more than just 24 hours at the places that you're really interested in. What I normally recommend to folks when I'm speaking with them is they set up a weekend or a spring break where they come out. Maybe they've got five different places they've narrowed it down to. I think any more than that gets to be a little overwhelming. But you want to go and visit each place at least for a day, get to know people, narrow down your selection a little bit, and then schedule individual visits to go back to these places, whether it's another break in the school year or a weekend, and spend a good 48 hours to 72 hours at the firehouse that you're considering making your home. You really want to make sure that you're comfortable there. Certain places may have better facilities than others, but you find that the group of people that you're going to be living with or the area that you're going to be living in is a better area. Do they have private live in facilities? Do they have a place for you to store your own things? Or are you living in a general pop bunk room just to be able to get the call volume and the experience? Most places that I'm aware of in our area, in the Washington metropolitan area, where the live-in program is really flourishing, they've developed um, private live-in, either dual or single dorm style live-in bunk rooms. Another thing to look out for is audio visual recruitment. Hyattsville has definitely done a great job, as well as a few other places, with having AV recruitment videos. Trying to get up their website now. So I've got Hyattsville's website up. Right on the top header part of their page is the live-in bunkering video, where they're calling out for people. It's not just a hot shot, uh, live incident, to heavy metal music. It's interviews with their guys, why they want you in their department, all the information right alongside on how you can join, get involved in the bunk room, or do a ride along. So these are all things to look for. What are they putting out there for you to see to join the program? And we talk about location. Are you going to go to a place that's immediately close to your school, like the College Park Volunteer Fire Department, where the firehouse is literally across the street from the campus? You're going to be involved in everything uh, there. So is that easier for you versus being at some place that's a little further away, where you're going to have to drive or ride the bus into the school, even if it's half mile or another mile away? In some cases, that can be a little bit burdensome, depending on what your situation is. For Rockville, we're 1 mile from Montgomery College, which does offer a fire science and emergency management program. So it's very convenient for our folks. There's a lot of parking on campus. They're able to live in the station. They can hop in their car or walk on a nice day up to the school, and be there in plenty of time for their classes. Another important thing to consider, and this is something that you're going to find out by your visits, is what's the call volume like at these stations? You know, um, and this is where you have to separate what you're seeing on the internet from what's actually real life. Some people are very good about advertising the calls that they're going on. They're able to make it seem like they're running a lot of fires, but are they really, or are they later on the assignment in a box alarm and they're showing up, the fire's already out, maybe they're helping out with overhaul, they're just standing by and going in service. Yeah, they responded on the call, but are they really getting that experience level for you that you're interested in? Um, you know, Call volume also plays into the factor of being able to think about what your ability to meet your obligations is going to be as a member in the organization, as well as a student live in or someone that's just relocated and you've gotten a full time job. Maybe you relocated to this area because you wanted to be in a live in program and get experience in the volunteer fire service. And you're hoping to get hired on a career department in the area later on. But in the meantime, you're trying to maintain your full time job wherever that may be. If you're getting up, 5, 6, 7 times after midnight, or you're not able to do your schoolwork during the day because you're running calls, uh, that can start to cause a problem for you. It's important that you look into it as a twofold decision, right? You're going to boost your experience paramount in any of these live-in programs in the area, um, just by being there. You're going to run calls. In our department, we have a standby program. Our members come in one night a week. Our live-ins are required to do 4 shifts in a week. Many other places don't have a standby program, so the volunteers are dropping in and out whenever it's desired. Versus the live-in, that's the guy that's there, or the gal that's there all the time, running every run. So you're going to get a lot of experience wherever you go. Um, Talk about the career staff in your firehouses that you're experiencing. Look at some of these places. Use Kentland as an example, and I'll use Morningside as an example. They are and Bladensburg. They're all 100% volunteer staff stations, and that's an excellent opportunity for you to go in there. And again, you're running more calls. You're maxing out on your experience time. Um, but you also have to look at juggling the life there. One of the people that I spoke to recently was looking at different things, and I said, "Look, you want to look at what's going on. Are this their career staff or is there not?" Um, you know, Rockville, College Park, Hyattsville, Berwyn Heights, all excellent places. They have career staff during the day, and the volunteers are going to be there at night. And I push that as somewhat as an advantage because if you're there for school or you're there for work, you're not tasked with the decision of deciding, do I go to work today or do I stay here because they're not going to have a wagon driver when I leave to go to school, and I don't want the company to fail. These are all things that you have to kind of really evaluate and your time visiting and your time speaking with the different departments. And when you're doing this, it's important that you're doing it. And I'm hoping that this gets out there to some folks in the younger generation. I've had a lot of live-in inquiries as a live-in coordinator at Rockville, and I'm speaking with parents. The initial email is coming from a parent, uh, and the first few communications are with the parent, and that's okay in the beginning. Especially, I've had some folks where they have a joint email set up to help facilitate college applications and things like that. But as time goes on, it's really important that you get out there and you make these communications yourself. Um, this is going to be your life, and if it's something that you're interested in, you have to dive headfirst into it and make it yours. Don't let somebody else walk the walk and talk the talk for you. Um, and the last thing I just can't stress enough on these programs is visiting the stations, getting to know the people, and uh, running the calls, checking out the facility, checking out the area surrounding. Is the neighborhood someplace where you feel comfortable being in when you're going outside of the fire department? So, transitioning now a little bit on hosting the live-in programs. So I kind of talked about all the things that somebody going into the live-in program really should look for. What do you need to do when you're looking to host a live-in program? And we have a number of people that have reached out to us at Rockville looking for advice. They're looking to start a live-in program. I know I've spoken to some of my cohorts that are, the chief officers at other fire departments in the area that have gotten the same thing recently. That seems to kind of be a hot topic where places that have not had a live-in or a resident program in the past are looking to start one. And it really, the foundation of your program is going to start with organization. I'm going to pull up my screen here, and I just have Rockville's live-in program and bunk room policy pulled up. And not that I want to bore you guys on policy, but one of the things as a chief officer, I had to revamp this policy a couple times in the last year to uh, best meet the needs of the organization as well as the folks living there. And we're not looking to make it difficult for anyone. We actually want to make sure that we're protecting the organization, but also protecting the members. One of the things with our program is live-in members are required to have a full-time job or be a full-time student, um, or some combination of the two that's documented. The important thing about that is you don't want somebody in your station that's just freeloading, and this happens from time to time. It looks like RJ's joined us now, so I'm going to hop on and let him come on for a second. RJ, can you hear me?
Yeah.
There you go. Welcome back, buddy.
Hey, thank you.
So you've been gone. I've been flying solo by the seat of my pants here. I started off talking about the live-in program, and instead of diving into live-in programs and what it takes to have one and to hold one, I started out with hopefully what most people are going to want to see and need to see is how to select a live-in program and what you should be looking for. I talked about how people should find the right fit for them, whether it's why are they coming to be a live-in? Are they coming for school? Are they coming for a job? Um, you know, what's the call volume like at the station they're looking at? Is there career staff or not? You know, is the location convenient to their school or work? What's it like outside of there? And the most important thing was visiting the station, and not just visiting for an hour or two or 12 hours, but a place that you're really interested in, spending at least 72 hours there. Um, you know, 48 to 72 hours to meet people and see what it's all really about.
Right.
The last little bit I talked about was just going into actually hosting a living program and what it takes to do that. That's kind of where I was transitioning into now. So I don't know if you want to throw anything out there on your experience and how you selected the living program that you did, coming from an out of state program.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick before I jump in there, I want to introduce one of my friends, uh, Sergeant Jeremy Hawkins. He's a sergeant with the West Lanham Hills Volunteer Fire Department in Prince George's County, and also one of my coworkers at my part-time job. And Jeremy is a living himself at the West Lanham Hills, and one of the senior guys who helps run their program. So I thought it'd be pretty good to have him on, and we can get a couple of different perspectives from a couple different counties and mindsets about the living program. So yeah, say hi, Jeremy. What's going on? So, uh, so to kind of pick up where you left off, Chris, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today when we talked about the living programs was how we get to a point to recruit people for the living programs. One of the biggest things I think that helped me then is not necessarily one of the things that is very helpful now. Websites was the way to go back in the day, and I think that everybody uh, was on websites, and it's helpful to have websites. When I was researching fire departments to live at when I was 16, 17, 18 years old, I was on different fire department websites all the time. I think now more than ever, social media is the new push for for fire department anything that we're doing, especially when it comes to advertisement and recruitment. Um, I was having a conversation the other day with some people about how we deliver information and how younger aged people are receiving information. Younger age people are receiving information now in, 15 to 20 to 45-second blips, and they want the down and dirty version of it real quick. I think that if you want to have a successful living program now, you have to have a good social media outlet, something that's being uploaded or pictures are being uploaded to the site every day, where people can religiously see the activity that's going on. It's just a thing, but people now who are getting in the fire service, they want to run calls, they want to be busy, they want to join a place where they're going to get training and good training at that. So being able to see the activity that the department is producing, that's a good way to sell and or market your living program. One of the things that got me, and everybody knows, I lived in Rockville when I was 18 years old, coming from Connecticut with Frank and all those guys and John. But one of the things that got me was the call volume. At the time, Rockville was the 11th busiest firehouse in the nation, and also the second busiest firehouse in Montgomery County. So the call volume is definitely there. I think that you're not going to always find the amount of call volume that anybody is wanting, but I think people also want to see the activity. People want to see that there's departments that are doing fundraisers. People want to see that there's a department constantly doing training. And I think that if you have social media sites where you can constantly upload those things, if I go to the sites of the department that I want to join, and I see every day I see a new picture being uploaded of training or calls or just guys in the station doing stuff. I think that helps you draw the program. That helps make it what it is. Jeremy, what's your thoughts on the whole marketing social media thing? Because I know you guys at West Lanham Hills have a page, and I follow it myself. What are some of your thoughts on that? Does it help you with your recruitment? Do you have somebody that's a living in charge of it? How does that work?
Yeah, so one of the livings runs the website, and then I think we have a Twitter and a Facebook and an Instagram. But yeah, you make a lot of good points. You have to market yourself. You have to posting calls. We do an end of the year video that honestly a lot of people see the go on YouTube and watch those end of year videos. And that's really the big thing for us is the keeping up the social media, updating it constantly, putting calls that we're running, and a good end of the year video. And that's pretty much how we recruit for the live-in program, because as soon as people walk through the door, it's like, hey, we'll give them a tour and give them a little bit about the station, and then always let them know that the best experience you're going to get here is going to be from being a live-in. So,
Hey, RJ, I, I just saw a comment from one of the viewers asking about tuition reimbursement, and that's something that I didn't really think about earlier when I was talking about my selection because it almost becomes second nature. We've used it for so long. In the state of
Say that,
Maryland.
hey, Chris, say that again. You froze up a little bit.
So somebody, one of our viewers, had commented on YouTube about tuition reimbursement, and I didn't even think to really mention it when I was talking about the program selection before because it's become almost second nature here for us. In the state of Maryland, there's a tuition reimbursement program. If you come and you go to school, or even if you're a member already in the state, you go to school, you go for the year, you're a member of the fire department for a year. At the end of the year, there's an option to have your tuition fully reimbursed by the Maryland State Firemen's Association. There are other tuition reimbursement programs throughout the state or scholarship programs. So that's something else to really be looking into when selecting your place. I know Montgomery County offers tuition reimbursement to our volunteers, which would include our live-in members, um, of up to I think $3,000 or $3,500 a year now. So is that something that's being offered in somewhere else that you're looking? Are there multiple avenues to get reimbursed for school?
Yeah. So I think that if there was somebody who was looking at joining a fire department living program, I think that a couple of the important things that you want to consider. Tuition assistance is one of them. Obviously, the college or the university or the school that you want to go to that is uh, relatively close to the department that you want to join. Um, it's one of those things, and a lot of people know I try to keep it on. Uh, Being an adult. So,
RJ, you
uh,
froze up there too now.
uh, hello. All right. So one of the things I was saying is that one of the go to school and try to be a firefighter at the same time. It's very hard. It's hard to manage. Provide some kind of tuition assistance for people to get help to go to school. The training is there. If I'm not running calls out there making,
RJ, you're freezing up quite a bit.
what's
But
going
I
to
think
play,
what
huh?
you're freezing up quite a bit. I think
Oh,
what you're getting into though is just, really looking at the activity level of the fire department that you're looking at, whether it's call volume, events in the community, fundraisers, parades, special events, um, you know, and coupling all that with the importance of the school that you're trying to select.
right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, of course, now you're frozen again.
I didn't have time to fire up my laptop and all that jazz. But yeah, absolutely. Just going down a checklist of all things that you want out of the career. See if you can get that out of the department. That's going to be the
Yeah, one of the other things I hit on RJ as well is, as the living coordinator at Rockville, I've gotten several people that have reached out to me, and it ends up being the parent or the father of the person that's looking to get into the living program. And while I have no problem interacting with those folks, and a lot of them are very interested in their program, obviously their son or daughter may be life changing event by coming to one of them. It's important that as time goes on, the person that's looking to move actually gets involved.
right. So I'm going to let Jeremy talk a little bit about the uh, living program at West Lanham and how they do it, how they, when people sign up or people inquire about the program, what they do to get them in and get the program built. So I'm going to let Jeremy talk a little bit about that.
So basically, what we have, the firehouse was renovated. The entire upstairs, we have 14 rooms. And when someone comes in, they're interested in the living program. Obviously, they get a tour. They have to hang out for a weekend. There's some rules we put in place for people who are interested, just because we do want them to get a feel of what the firehouse is like, make sure that they're going to like it and it's a good area and good fit for them. So we mandate that they ride along for at least a weekend when they're interested in the living program. And if they just do decide to live in, then they come in, they get a room. Obviously, they're still on a probationary period, but yeah, I mean, that's what attracted me to West Lanham Hills was that a lot of the guys living there, like everyone, it's like a good fit for me because everyone there has another job, and the rooms were a good size. It was a good area, um, good benefits. The guys were training a lot. It's a pretty busy department, so
Do you guys have career staff during the day at West Lanham, Jeremy?
No, we're 100% volunteer all the time. So
Gotcha.
sometimes the days are a little rough, but most nights we're fully staffed.
Yeah, I brought that up as just a discussion point either earlier for folks when they're looking into places. You know,
Mm,
career staff being both an advantage and disadvantage to selecting your place.
yeah.
If there is career staff, it's nice because you get a break during the day to go to school or work. If
Mm,
there's not, it totally boosts your experience level by the fact that you're the primary staffing for the station.
yeah, it's a bit more for us. I mean, most of us are doing. If we're not at work, we're pretty much at the firehouse. 7 nights a week, days whenever we can. So yeah, it's a great way to get more experience because, like, I mean, the live-ins pretty much we're the primary staffing. We have people trickle in here and there, but most of the time it's just the live-ins on the piece.
So I think that we we did a pretty good, and I missed the first portion of it. Sorry for that, but I think we about the living program and different programs out there. One of my biggest things I want to leave people with about the living program before we jump to the next segment is just to encourage people to do a little research. Make sure you get online, get on the social media, reach out to people, talk to them about the different types of living programs they have. And I know you touched on this, Chris, but I just want to reiterate the fact that it's important that you see the place and see how the people are and make sure you're going to mesh well with the group that you're joining. Uh, I think that the living program is one of the greatest things that the fire service has ever done for younger people to get in. For me, it was a life changing event. Obviously, going from a high schooler to a an adult in the course of a couple months, and then living on your own, having to take care of yourself and learn how to be a firefighter. So I think that and again, it's not for everybody. It's not one of those things that everybody can do, but it's one of those things that if you're going to do it, you should make sure you do a little bit of research on the back end just to make sure, like I said, you're going to mesh well with the people in the place that you're going to go to. It is a life changing event, and for the better. I mean, as a young kid, I was 18 years old running thousands of calls. Um, and then you just don't get that experience anywhere unless you're somewhere where you do it every day. And
Second to none. That's for
we were
sure.
doing it. We were doing it every day.
Well,
So, huh?
I was going to touch on one other thing as you wrapped up there. We talked a lot about what to do when you're looking to select a live-in program, but I've had a lot of inquiries lately on people looking to start up live-in programs that don't have them already. Um, so just a little quick bullet point before we go into engine company operations on some of those things. One of the things that I tell people when they're coming to our program, RJ, is I tell them you should go to other places, check out other places. We want you to find the best fit for you. Because if I sell somebody down the river and they come into Rockville and they, you know, 2 months, 3 months down the road decide this place isn't for me, they're going to roll out on all the progress that we've made, or they're just not going to do well. And we know how that goes too. You end up with somebody that's just not interested in the program and they kind of, they end up being a load on you. I think, the other part is making sure that you have good rules and regulations in place. What do you want from your live ins? What do you want to get out of them? What are you going to do for them? What are you going to offer them? It's written in policy at Rockville what the live ins are going to have as far as facilities. And then the last thing we talked about a little bit earlier on the tuition reimbursement is making sure you have good incentives. Aside from tuition reimbursement, that whether the department gets a grant for something like that or the state is offering it, what do you do for them? Do you buy them a leather helmet? Do you get them a night in a hotel once a month, or get them out so that they can get a reprieve?
Yeah, I think you were trying to say that looking at you were freezing up quite a bit. I don't know what's going on with our connection today, but I think you were talking about But yeah, absolutely. You know, one of those would do the living days, and so moving on. What I want to do is while we got the last little bit of minutes left, I know this seems to. I feel like as a squad guy, the fire service does not want to allow Jeremy to talk about engine ops. Every time we get on here to talk about engine ops, Jeremy gets cut short. The first time of engine operations time left, and I thought it'd be pretty cool because I know West Lanham Hills has a very good engine company operations program when it comes to training their performance on the fire ground, as well as where you work at, Chris. I know you guys are a very big engine-driven city, so I wanted to touch on a few things before we wrapped up with regards to engine company operations. Everybody knows I'm a big squad guy. I love doing rescue squad work, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say that inevitably the fire doesn't go out of that you can have in the fire service on the fire ground next to being a squad driver is being on the line. And one of the biggest things I would like to talk about is how do we get the performance some of the training things that they do at West Lanham. Talks and you know me and Jeremy, and so I wanted to have Jeremy talk about it. So Jeremy, go ahead, please talk about West Lanham Hills. You guys, how you train your people, some of the different drills that you do, and some of the ways you make your people better perform on the ground. You so talk about it.
So the biggest thing that we do up the road is we don't have access to training facilities or the academy or anything, being is the department that we're in. However, I think the best way to train your people in stretching hose lines and engine company ops is to get out into the community, get out into your first do, second do, third do areas, and stretch lines in actual scenarios. So pull up to a plug on an apartment building. Hey, 400, 3 buildings down. Stretch it, have the lineman stretch, get up the stairs all the way to the top floor apartment. Make sure they have enough hose when they get up there, and just keep repeating that and repeating that until they get it right. Get out into a neighborhood, take a plug, and stretch to a house. Stretch the bumper line to the front door of this house. Find a vacant house to do some of that stuff, and that to me is the best way to actually train in actually train because it's the most realistic you can get without actually being on a call.
So when I joined West Lanham Hills, right, as a new guy, I'm not assigned to riding that position as a lineman right away, right?
No.
So at what point do I get that satisfaction of being a lineman? What do I have to do as a new member to be able to get that riding assignment? Is there a checkoff process? Is there a book, or is there orientation?
Yeah, so in your rookie book, it has everything from apparatus inventory. You got to know all the lines, all the sizes, things like that. Like basically, the rookie book encompasses everything knowledge-wise that you're going to need to know about how the station runs day to day, apparatus, everything like that. So once you do your rookie book, you come in, you get a rookie book. Once you do it, and then getting out and showing everyone that you can perform to a level in which we feel comfortable putting you on the line. So if we pull up to a plug, we may be coming off a medic local, turn into an apartment complex, take a plug, and do a drill. Hey, get dressed. There's 3 buildings down. Take the 400. So they got to get dressed, pack up, mask up, grab the 400, go down, stretch the line, and once we feel like they can perform to a satisfactory level, then they can start riding that position.
So let me ask you this, Jeremy, and this is just your opinion. What do you think the number one mistake is made by engine companies on the fire ground? Or and just in general, what do you think the biggest mistakes engine companies make on the fire
Made
ground?
by engine companies, the stretch.
The stretch?
You have to stretch correctly. It makes a difference that you stretch correctly. It makes a difference that you turn out quickly too. But if you mess the stretch up, you don't have enough line. That's the biggest thing I see is not having enough line, not being able to move with the hose line, not being able, your backup man not doing his job, and not helping the lineman advance the hose line, things like that. So stretching correctly can alleviate a lot of that.
So, what do you guys do to teach people how to estimate stretches? I know back in the day when I used to ride the engine a lot, what I used to do is I used to calculate floors, and one of the biggest things that I would do is I would look at uh, the floor and the layout of the building. I would say, all right, I'm going to generally use about 50 per floor. I'm going to use about 10 to 15 in the stairwells, and I would calculate it that way all the way up. How do you guys teach your people to calculate the stretch so they don't come up short? Because so here's the deal: I've known Jeremy for a while, right? And I've known Jeremy as one of those hardcore officers that if I was riding under Jeremy and I messed the stretch up, I know I would hear about it from Jeremy. So how is it that you teach these people so they don't mess the stretch up? Because and let's face it, in the heat of the moment, we don't have a second chance to fix this, especially when we all work, between the three of us, work in pretty aggressive departments where if I mess the stretch up, somebody else has got my fire. I think where Chris works at is like that. I think where you volunteer is like that. Where I work at is like that. So, how do we teach that, Jeremy? What are some of the things that you teach? And do you use the same thing that I use? I know that's what worked for me. But if you use something different, what do you use?
So basically, when someone's brand new on the line, say you just got cut loose, until I've ran a couple fires with you and know that you gotta estimate that stretch, me as the officer, I'm going to turn around and tell you what to stretch. I'm in the map book. I'm looking at where our plug is. I know where the house is. I have a better view rolling up to the scene, what's going on. I'm going to most likely tell that lineman, if he's new, what to stretch. However, as a lineman, when you get in and you start to be more comfortable around a couple fires, then, like I said, getting out and, all right, it's this building, it's that house, it's there. What are you going to stretch? And having them stretch it. If they come up short, it's a learning opportunity. If they can estimate the stretch correctly, then that's something that they just build on time and training. So I don't really have a program or a method. It's just kind of training and getting used to your area and the areas that you run on the engine. And
common practice.
Stuff like that, common practice.
What about you, Chris? What would you say are the biggest mistakes made by engine companies on the fire ground?
You hit it on the head with the stretch, right? If you mess up the stretch, it's hard to overcome it. That said, if you're really on your game, you can adapt and overcome certain things. And I think RJ, where I'm going to go with this. We've been out some places where the equipment that's being carried is not conducive to being adaptive. You can pull a cross lay and that's it. There's no way to break the nozzle to whether you need to use it as a smooth bore or you need to extend the line. Uh, you know, there is no leader line on the truck. There's really got to evaluate the equipment that you're carrying uh, and make sure that it's right for your environment. What works in Washington, D.C. doesn't necessarily work in a more rural town. That said, the design of the equipment, it really makes a difference. But aside from that stretch and being able to adapt when it goes wrong and do so quickly and think on the fly, that all comes from knowing your buildings, right? When you're out on the medicals or you're out on the alarm bells calls, or even if you're just sitting around on the couch, get off the couch and get out in your area. Go out and walk the buildings. When you're riding around in the wagon, keep your head up. Keep it out of your smartphone, right? Too many guys riding around doing this and not looking out the window, see what's going on around them, the buildings that are being built. If you're an officer, when you're in the seat or you're driving, the guy that used to drive me all the time, and we would just, Alex and I would just be hammering people in the back with questions in the headset. What's this? How do we do that? If we need to stretch this line to this building, what are we going to do? What does this appliance do? What would you need if you need to do that? Right? And you just got to keep drilling that information. And I find so many young people today in the fire department are just, these young guys are just not paying attention. They're not with it as much and they don't have the ability to adapt and overcome because they're not paying attention when they're out in the area and they don't know their piece that well. You got to know the inventory, you got to know the lines that are being carried.
So I think that uh, both of those are good. And if I could add one more that I think is probably what I think is the ultimate one to close off the other two, I would say the ability to work together for the common good of the operation. And I say this because when I was young, riding the engine, back when I was 18, 19 years old, it was always a competitive sport. Even where I work at, it's a competitive sport. We have engine companies right on top of each other. We have literally two engines on the same street, 5, 6 blocks apart. So it's I mean that's we're right on top of each other. So I think that it's one of those things where we've always looked at engine operations when it comes to engine operations in relation to other engine and their operations as a competitive sport. I know where you volunteer as a competitive sport, where you work at it's a competitive sport, where I work as a competitive sport. But the overall operation, uh, sometimes we tend to not take a step back to be like, all right, well, if we all are here for the common good of putting this fire out, right? And these guys are running with 2 or 3 extra bodies in the back, right? And we still have a hard time getting the line in place. Everybody working to get the initial line in place. That is
Hey,
one of my biggest. Huh?
I just saw that there's a comment online about initial positioning, and I think it ties into what you're talking about right now too. The guy driving the wagon or the gal driving the wagon really needs to think about where they're going to put it, right? One,
Yeah,
you don't want to block out the truck. There's everybody that would get on here and say, don't block my ladders out, etc. But when you get your wagon in the right place, from sleeving the hydrant to making the stretch, sure, hose is extendable and it bends, but that positioning really makes a difference. I know we have plenty of apartment buildings in my first due, both in Washington D.C. as well as in our area at Rockville. That if you're in the wrong place, you're going to come up short, and then short of running a leader line or something more difficult, you're not going to make it with your tack line.
oh, I agree. But and just as bad as it is come up, or just as much as it is bad to come up short, it's also just as much bad to have too much hose. And I think that when you look at some of these operations where we have hose just tying up the stairwells, where you can't walk up and down the stairs, and you have to literally hop the stairs. And I know you guys have all seen that before, where you have to hop the stairs to get over the lines because there's so much extra hose in the stairwell. That I think that's just as bad. So I think that, and this is one of my biggest things I always preach as a squad guy to younger squad guys and truck guys in the business, that if we are heading in that direction, and I've argued this with people all the time, and I sometimes I win this one, sometimes I lose this one. We'll see what the fire engineering community thinks of me after I say this. But if we're heading in that direction, yes, I have a job to do. Yes, I have somewhere I need to be and somewhere to be quickly. But it doesn't hurt if I pick up some hose with me and move it with me as I'm going up. If these engine guys can get their line,
Amen.
if these engine guys can get their line in place faster because their backup guy is at the last turn, their officers helping them try to figure out where the fire is, and somebody still needs to help get hose there, it doesn't hurt us to pick it up and help move it to help get it in place. Now, let me be clear with this. When I say that, it is not my job to do that as a truck guy or a squad guy, right? But it helps the overall operation. Now, I'm not saying that the truck and squad guys need to go out of their way, right? Because that's something that we should be teaching our engine people, to be able to overcome these obstacles and these challenges while they're riding that particular piece.
Hey,
But if
RJ.
yeah,
So, you're going into a good place with this, and it's going to line me up for a great engine company slam on the trucking squad. So, one, I know West Lanham used to have a shirt at 48 that said "No truck, no squad, no problem." I have a few of those lying around in my wardrobe. But we're all there for the same purpose. You hit that nail on the head. Everybody has to work together to make the team come together. And I know
yeah,
some places have defined duties by positions and the companies are doing different things. But bottom line, that is, if the water doesn't go on the fire doesn't go out. And we all got to work together, from teaching the people on the ambulance how to hook up the HUMAT valve or connect to the hydrant and charge it when they're ready if you're in a more rural place and you're waiting on another engine, to, like you said, if you're on the truck or the squad and you're going through the front door, it doesn't hurt to reach down and grab the line. And as you're walking in the door, I'm not telling you to, sit there and hump hose and work your butt off, but you can grab the line and pull
I'm
it with you
heading
to
in
where you're going.
that direction. You can take a little bit with you. It helps the overall operation. I don't care what anybody says. I'm a big squad guy. I love the special services, but if we don't put water on fire, it's not going on, and then it's actually making the whole thing worse. It's making the whole operation worse, and it's going to be to the point where if we don't put water on fire, nobody's going to be in this house or this commercial, and nobody's going to be operating because we can't do our job because it's too much fire. So I think that some people don't like me when I say that. Some people love me when I say that. I never know who my audience is going to be, but I think that's the most fair and the realistic way that I can be is to say if you're heading in that direction, let's all help the overall operation. And the overall operation is to put the line in place and get the water on the fire. You're a big engine guy. What would you say to that?
I would go above that and almost say it's everyone's job on the fire. Yeah, you have your job, but it's your job too to get the line in place. I think it's everyone's job on the fire ground to get their line in place because, like you said, we're there to put the fire out. There's no line in place. There's no water getting on. The fire's not going to go out.
You
That's what we're
certainly
there to do.
shouldn't be inhibiting it. That's for sure. There's plenty of people out there I know that they're on a truck or a squad and they just don't care. They'll inhibit you from getting the line in place rather than helping you. You're right, Jeremy. I mean, it's everybody's job.
And to me, that's just inexperience or ignorance.
Well, I used to. I not inhibit, but I used to be that guy who was like, I got somewhere I need to be, and I got a job I need to do. That's not my job. And that was I would say in my younger days that was lack of knowing how to work well with others and how to help the overall operation. I think as I've gotten older, learned a little bit more, seen the circumstances where I would have liked to stay in this fire and work a little bit more, but I can't because it's out of control. We don't have a line in place and all these things that were the forces of the chief saying, "All right, everybody out." Well, we could all help this operation and stayed in and played more if we had got the line in place. So I think it's just one of those things I always like to say. I always like to teach. I always like to share. It's everybody's job to help get the line in place. So I know we are ran a few minutes over, but Chris, since this is your show today, we'll let you close it out with your closing thoughts, Jeremy. Real quick, your closing thoughts.
I mean, it's been a good talk. It's been a good. I think we got a lot of good information out. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. I want to say sorry we got on a little late. We were stuck on a run, but I think that knowing the information that we were talking about and what little time we were here, it was good, valuable information shared as well. And as always, I want to thank Chief Houghton, Chief Ritchie, PJ, all those guys for trusting me to have the show and running with the show. And Chris, I'll let you close it out since it's your show today.
So, thanks, guys. I really appreciate you having me on here again, and I hope I didn't bore everybody to death before my comrades got on here because I'm really passionate about this stuff. I hope you benefited from the information that was shared. I really appreciate the people. There's been a lot of people chiming in on the live chat on YouTube. A lot of good comments, and that's how we learn. It's always good to talk with other people that are fellow students of the game. And if you have any questions or anything you'd like to know, if I can share anything with you, just reach out through me through Rockville's Facebook page or through our website. We'd be happy to help you out with your living program. Good luck, and thanks for joining us on Fire Engineering's Hump Day Hangout.
All right. See you later, guys.